Upon first reading the book of Ruth, we understand Ruth is a Moabite, a foreigner and a pagan worshiper who is married into a Jewish family that has seen much suffering. Ruth aligns herself with her new family, choosing to stay with Naomi after the death of her father-in-law, brother-in-law, and husband. How these men died is not made obvious. However, one could contemplate that having left the land of the Hebrews to live in the land of Moab may have brought wrath upon them. This is made clear in Deuteronomy 29. When the next generation, your children who will grow up after you, and the foreigner who arrives from a distant land, sees the plague of that land and the diseases with which Adonai has made it sick, and that the whole land has become burning sulfur and salt, that it isn't being sown or bearing crops or even producing grass, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which Adonai overthrew in his furious anger. Then all the nations will ask, why did Adonai do this to this land? What is the meaning of such frenzied, furious anger? People will answer, it's because they abandoned the covenant of Adonai, the God of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went and served other gods, prostrating themselves before them, gods they had not known and which he had not assigned them. For this reason the anger of Adonai blazed up against this land and brought upon it every curse written in this book. And Adonai, in anger, fury, and incensed with indignation, uprooted them from their land and threw them out into another land, as it is today. This was the covenant Jehovah spoke to the Hebrews while in Moab. Deuteronomy 29. These are the words of the covenant that the Lord commanded Moses to make with the people of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant that he made with them at Horeb. To whom is this covenant spoken? Moses spoke for Jehovah, saying, You are standing today, all of you, before Jehovah your God, the heads of your tribes, your elders and your officers, all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and the sojourner who is in your camp, from the one who chops your wood to the one who draws your water. Who is the sojourner? A sojourner is a Gentile. In God's promises to the Israelites, he has never totally left out the Gentiles, not even in the Hebrew Bible. For we know that the Gentiles are to be treated and cared for by the Jews. Jehovah spoke in Exodus 23:9. You shall not oppress a sojourner. You know the heart of a sojourner, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt. What is Jehovah saying? We were all sojourners. Our journey as God's people is based upon our faithfulness and obedience. The result of faithfulness and obedience is to be found blameless. Abraham was tested and found blameless. This is what led to the establishing of a covenant with his descendants. Genesis 17 says, When Abram was 90 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. Psalms 101:6. I will look with favor on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. He who walks in the way that is blameless shall minister to me. Proverbs 28. Whoever misleads the upright into an evil way will fall into his own pit, but the blameless will have a goodly inheritance. The promise given to the Hebrews, Exodus 23. So that you may enter into the sworn covenant of the Lord your God, which the Lord your God is making with you today, that he may establish you today as his people, and that he may be your God, as he promised you, and as he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Is this covenant only to the Hebrews? Exodus 23. It is not with you alone that I am making this sworn covenant, but with whoever is standing here with us today before the Lord our God, and with whoever is not here with us today. The command is that we love our neighbors. Leviticus 19. When a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. The Book of Ruth. Back in the days when the judges were judging, at a time when there was a famine in the land, a certain man from Bethlehem went to live in the territory of Moab, he, his wife, and his 2 sons. The man's name was Elimelech, his wife's name was Naomi, and his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephraim, from Bethlehem in Judah. They arrived in the plain of Moab and settled there. Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, she and her 2 sons. They took wives for themselves from the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. They lived there for about 10 years. Then Mahlon and Chilion died, both of them, and the woman was left with neither her 2 sons nor her husband. So she prepared to return with her daughters-in-law from the plain of Moab. For in the plain of Moab she had heard how Adonai had paid attention to his people by giving them food. She left the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law and took the road leading back to Judah. Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Each of you go back to your mother's house. May Adonai show grace to you as you did to those who died and to me. May Adonai grant you security in the home of a new husband." Then she kissed them, but they began weeping aloud. They said to her, "No, we want to return with you to your people." Naomi said, "Go back, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb who could become your husbands? Go back, my daughters. Go your way, for I'm too old to have a husband. Even if I were to say, I still have hope, even if I had a husband tonight and 4 sons, would you wait for them until they grew up? Would you refuse to marry just for them? No, my daughters. On your behalf I feel very bitter that the hand of Adonai has gone out against me." Again they wept aloud. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth stuck with her. She said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Go back after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Don't press me to leave you and stop following you, for wherever you go I will go, and wherever you stay I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die I will die, and there I will be buried. May Adonai bring terrible curses on me, and worse ones as well, if anything but death separates you and me." When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. So the 2 of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole city was stirred with excitement over them. The women asked, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi, pleasant," she answered them. "Call me Mara, bitter, because Shaddai has made my life very bitter. I went out full, and Adonai has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? Adonai has testified against me. Shaddai has afflicted me." This is how Naomi returned, with Ruth the woman from Moab, her daughter-in-law, accompanying her from the plain of Moab. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Naomi becomes bitter about her situation. She understands that she has lost her husband and sons. Returning back to her homeland, Naomi is fulfilling God's desire that each one of us separate ourselves from all things pagan, things which no man should touch, and come back to a place where God's commands are understood, spoken, and where men walk in His commands. Ruth is under Naomi's care, and as a Hebrew, she is obliged everything of God's abundance, with no deference. The Book of Ruth, Chapter 2. Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a prominent and wealthy member of Elimelech's clan, whose name was Boaz. Ruth, the woman from Moab, said to Naomi, "Let me go into the field and glean ears of grain behind anyone who will allow me to." She answered her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out, arrived at the field, and gleaned behind the reapers. She happened to be in the part of the field that belonged to Boaz from Elimelech's clan. When Boaz arrived from Bethlehem, he said to the reapers, "Adonai be with you." And they answered him, "Adonai bless you." Then Boaz asked his servants supervising the reapers, "Whose girl is this?" The servant supervising the reapers answered, "She's a girl from Moab who returned with Naomi from the plain of Moab." She said, "Please let me glean and gather what falls from the sheaves behind the reapers." So she went and has kept at it from morning until now, except for a little rest in the shelter. Boaz said to Ruth, "Did you hear that, my daughter? Don't go to glean in another field. Don't leave this place, but stick here with my working girls. Keep your eyes on whichever field the reapers are working in, and follow the girls. I've ordered the young men not to bother you. Whenever you get thirsty, go and drink from the water jars the young men have filled." She fell on her face, prostrating herself, and said to him, "Why are you showing me so much favor? Why are you paying attention to me? After all, I'm only a foreigner." Boaz answered her, "I've heard the whole story, everything you've done for your mother-in-law since your husband died, including how you left your father and mother and the land you were born in to come to a people about whom you knew nothing beforehand. May Adonai reward you for what you have done. May you be rewarded in full by Adonai, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge." She said, "My Lord, I hope I continue pleasing you. You have comforted and encouraged me, even though I'm not one of your servants." When mealtime came, Boaz said to her, "Come here, have something to eat, and dip your piece of bread in the olive oil and vinegar." She sat by the reapers, and they passed her some roasted grain. She ate till she was full, and she had some left over. When she got up to glean, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her glean, even among the sheaves themselves, without making her feel ashamed. In fact, pull some of the ears of grain out from the sheaves on purpose. Leave them for her to glean, and don't rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. When she beat out what she had gathered, it came to about a bushel of barley. She picked it up and went back to the city. Her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and Ruth brought out and gave her what she had left over after eating her fill. Her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where were you working? Blessed be the one who took such good care of you." She told her mother-in-law with whom she had been working. She said, "The name of the man with whom I was working today is Boaz." Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "May he be blessed by Adonai, who has never stopped showing grace, neither to the living nor to the dead." Naomi also told her, "The man is closely related to us. He's one of our redeeming kinsmen." But the woman from Moab said, "Moreover, he even said to me, 'Stay close to my young men until they've finished my harvest.'" Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It's good, my daughter, for you to keep going out with his girls, so that you won't encounter hostility in some other field." So she stayed close to Boaz's girls to glean until the end of the barley and wheat harvests, and she lived with her mother-in-law. As the story unfolds, we see how Boaz cared for Ruth and becomes a foreshadow as to the way Messiah Yeshua cares for all his people. Not only for those who have been blameless, but also those who had no knowledge of his commands, but come to know Messiah as the true Redeemer and faithful one, who for all eternity will govern his people. His Torah and covenants make it possible that even idol worshippers who repent can be delivered into his kingdom. In Boaz, we see a clear picture of this Redeemer and Deliverer. Boaz was a prince among men and a righteous judge ruling under the name of Isbon.